he's a relatively newcomer when it comes to sprint car racing in the Northern California scene, running sprint cars primarily at Silver Dollar Speedway and Marysville Raceway. Originally from Chico, now living in Durham, California, Jayce Steinberg is our next guest on Getting Up to Speed. We will get into that after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. Well, joining me drives the 2S representing Durham, California. We're talking to Jayce Steinberg. And Jayce, great to have you on the program. You're part of that, what I consider the new movement of drivers in the Silver Dollar Speedway, Marysville Raceway area that's coming up through the ranks, getting some experience and, logging some laps and part of some new blood that's in sprint car racing in Northern California.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, no, it's great to be racing and being part of that movement. It's been a long time in the making for me. But yeah, super stoked to be part of it.
Well, and I'm sure there's some viewers and listeners wondering, well, where the heck is Durham? Well, it's just outside of Chico. And I guess for you, describe as far as how far that is away from Chico and kind of your Chico roots.
Yeah, it's literally 11 minutes south of Silver Dollar Speedway. So after loading up, it really takes me like 10 minutes to get home, and it's super convenient and nice to be a little bit out of town. We're out in the orchards out there and got a little bit of room to move around, and it's basically Chico, but not being so close to downtown that you got to deal with all of that stuff. But
yeah, I was thinking there was a late model guy came from there, Newquist, I think is Dave Newquist. I think that was the guy's name, 04.
Possibly, yeah. I'm pretty new to Durham, honestly. I'm from Chico, and then I've worked all over the country and stuff for many years. And when I moved back up here, we moved over to Biggs, California.
Okay.
And my business is based around Chico, but
sure. Yeah, Biggs is just a little outside of like that Gridley area, kind of.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit farther south.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
yeah. I'm starting to get well versed with 99 with Gridley and Biggs and Yuba City and that part, because I'd only really knew how to get from Chico to Marysville and nothing really beyond that. But all of a sudden, I'm starting to find out like where Gerber is and Penn Valley and all kind of those little towns around the Chico area.
Yep, for sure. I was the same way.
Well, let's talk about your racing journey. Kind of what was your first introduction that you can recall of going to a race and kind of where it was and what that experience was like?
Well, I grew up in Chico, so since I was probably like a couple months old, I always got taken to Silver Dollar Speedway since I could remember. I remember falling asleep during the mains, like on the stands, and we normally sat up in turn 4, and just that was my intro to the racing. We'd go to Cycleland and stuff and watch, and then I raced dirt bikes when I was younger out at Cycleland. Mm-hmm. But Silver Dollar was the main place that we went almost like every Friday night. And even if we didn't go for the whole race, we'd always show up around 8:30 or 9 and try to catch the mains after going out to the lake fishing or whatever other stuff we were doing. But that was the main. And
what was the draw for your family to go to the races? Were there some other family members that raced, or was it was the thing to do on Friday nights in the area?
Yeah, just growing up in the area, my dad had a lot of friends that were involved with it, and my dad was a painter. He worked for Cruises Classics and JP's Auto Body and stuff, and so he painted and worked on a lot of cars and always had me interested in it. And I mean, I thought they were the coolest thing probably on earth when I was from as long as I've had a memory,
Sure.
sprint cars are pretty much the pinnacle of racing and automotive interest for me. And so yeah, just he knew that was my favorite thing in the world to go and do, and so he always made it a point. We were always out there, and then he'd always wait around after the races, and we'd go in the pits and hang out and stay till the very end normally. So.
Well, and then when did it become for you, I want to be a driver or get more involved in racing? About when that was, and what sort of was the process to get you into competitive racing?
So yeah, after I was probably like 10 or 12, somewhere in that range, I was like dying to get at least a go-kart or something with four wheels, and besides dirt bike racing, which I did for a long time. But I ended up getting a bunch of hand-me-down parts from a bunch of friends who raced, and I built a kart and found a motor on eBay. And by the time I was 16, I had a kart finally, and I put a kart together for like one season. And it wasn't very competitive because it was so used and old and different style front ends and stuff that they were using. And I rebuilt the engine by myself with one of the guys who helped me rebuild dirt bike motors, and I left all the gears in it. So it wasn't ideal for racing, and just not super competitive. And that's kind of when I ended up kind of having to give it up because we didn't have a lot of money, and I didn't really have money to be competitive. I had to go to work, and I graduated high school when I was 17 and started in Dubuque College welding. So there wasn't a whole lot of time. I was super busy with that, and basically went to work welding and going on the road traveling and welding. And 10 or 15 years rolled by, and I was like, damn, like, I kind of gave up on all my hopes and dreams just trying to make a living. And I talked with my wife, and I was like, hey, like, my goal for working this hard was eventually to get a race car and stuff, and I kind of overlooked it for over a decade. So she's like, you sell all your motorcycles and you can look for a roller. And I wasn't sure which way I was going to go, if I was going to go into 360s or build a crate sprint. And I originally was looking at building a crate motor out for a sprint car, or finding a crate motor, and ended up getting in touch with Steven Tyner at Tyner-Hurst Enterprises. And they had a really good deal on an entry motor, but it was a 360. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I mean, my main goal has always been to run a wing sprint car. So he's like, you probably won't do very good, but he's like, at least you get the motor, and then you can get your feet wet, see if it's something you like, or if you want to, do something else. So ended up buying a motor from him and found a roller for like $3,000 from Ron LaPlante over in Oroville. And so it was really our first season. I think we did everything for under like $20,000. The car, the motor, wheels, everything, and used the old trailer that we had for work. And that's pretty much that got us started. And once we got started, I fell in love with all the people. Everyone we've met has just been super nice, and like, it's just a really good environment, and something that even my wife says, like, it's cool that we got involved with it when we did, because now that we have kids, you get to bring them up around the racing community, and it's probably the best people in the world, I think.
Well, that's really cool. How surreal was it for you to sit in the cockpit of your sprint car and fire off for the first time to go rolling the track? Was it a pinch me, is this really happening sort of moment?
Definitely. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. We test fired it up over at Tyner-Hurst for the first time, and just the first time firing off in a sprint car with the respect that I've had for it for so long was probably like, I don't know, I was pretty much floating. My frickin' stomach was, it was pretty exciting. And then actually getting to go out to Marysville and make a couple laps. We went out there and it was amazing, but immediately kind of realized that, this is waited my whole life for that feeling. It was just freaking amazing. It's really hard to describe how cool it felt. But
Well, and then like fast forward to you actually get into some competitive racing. No doubt that had to be challenging, but at the same time, obviously you're still doing this. You're still getting at it and still trying to improve and build off of results.
yeah, no, that especially getting out there, and the year that I so happened to join, there was not very many tracks racing because I think I got the car in late 18. It took us a while to put it together. So it was like 2020, right about when COVID was happening, is when we finally made it out to Marysville, and there was everybody,
Under the sun.
from all the drivers that I've looked up to from when I was little to like the up and coming super good guys were out there, just because it was one of the only tracks open and racing. So it was pretty crazy to get started with that many cars and that many good guys out there around us, racing. But I think we learned a lot that first year, and kind of had to, learn to hold the line and, go out there and just know I'm going to get my butt kicked, and have to just learn as fast as I can and make sure that I, stay respectful and try not to get in too many people's way, really.
Sure.
But
Sure. Yeah, and Marysville was really there for a while. It was really the only place running sprint cars until a couple of tracks were able to get the green light and jump through the proper hoops to have their track operate.
right.
Yeah, I mean there were car counts, and they weren't even racing on Saturday nights, and they were having great car counts. I think it was Wednesdays, and it was just
Yeah.
amazing what was able to. It was kind of one of those things where it's like a Midwest sort of deal. Like, yeah, we're racing this day, we're going to this track tomorrow, and then Sunday's Petaluma. There's a race Saturday. It's like, holy smokes. I talking with Andy Forsberg, there was so much racing that guys were like, this is too much to a certain degree.
Yeah, no. And, I, from not really having much experience in it, coming into that it was pretty overwhelming. It was really cool though. I think that, we only raced like, I don't know, a handful of times the first year, because we didn't get the car going until later in the season. But it was really cool to be out there with that many guys and that much excitement about it, because a lot of people were locked up at home, and it was a really interesting time. It was an interesting year for sure.
No, definitely. And then spending some time at Marysville Raceway as well as Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico. They're both quarter-mile racetracks. For you, was it an adjustment going from Chico to Marysville or vice versa? I mean, it seems like Chico's a little bit more banked. Were there some challenges in that regard?
I feel like going to Chico at Silver Dollar was kind of a lot easier, because you got kind of the same turn. I mean, they're not the same turns, but you got more banking on it. Everything's just a lot more open. At Marysville, 1 and 2 is super tight, and then you got a different turn over there in 3 and 4. So, but Marysville has its own challenges. It's super greasy when it starts, and then it could blow right off, and it'll just be dry slick by the mains. So I think that going to Chico is a little bit more of a consistent track, and I wouldn't say it's easier, but it was like it was, by the time we had enough track days out at Marysville, coming to Chico was like really nice. I really liked it, and I felt a lot more comfortable at Chico. You can go a lot different places. It's easier to be up top. There's not a wall right there. Like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it's just kind of opened up. So it's a little bit easier to get up top.
And a little bit forgiving too. If you miss your mark, you could get upside down, but for the most part, you're just going to blow the top and then just get past. Whereas Marysville, you blow the top, you're body slamming into a wall.
Yeah. Marysville wall, they've got us a couple times up there, and like last year, definitely not as forgiving. The concrete K rails.
Sure. talking about 2023, made a couple of main events last year. I had you down your best finish of 15th place at Marysville in the spring on March 18th. And talking before air, work kind of gets in the way a little bit, so you're not able to race all the time. But when you do, it seems like you guys are still having fun and enjoying it.
Yeah, no, actually that race in March, we were up to second in the main and then got into that K-rail and totaled the car, and I shattered my kneecap into the steering box and completely totaled the car. And the car was dialed. We just came off of Trophy Cup the previous year, and we had everything pretty much basic maintenance over the winter. The motor was freshened like 15 races before that, so everything going in that first race out there at Marysville was sweet. And then we ended up having to rebuild. That also took us out for a couple races in order to get another car together. But yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah. And for 2024, are you guys kind of going along the same plan, sort of bouncing back between Silver Dollar and Marysville, or are you going to try and maybe go to a couple different tracks?
Yeah, I think last year we went one or two races up in Placerville. I really like Placerville. So I definitely want to get up there some more. It's a really cool track, and we've had a little bit tough luck every time we've went up there, but hopefully this year we can get up there. And then, yeah, there's a few other tracks I did want to. I mean, we went to Tulare for Trophy Cup, and then I did want to go to Petaluma and maybe Stockton, or check out some of the other tracks that aren't too far away from us. Maybe Ocean Speedway or something like that.
Okay. And is it still a possibility that you might dabble with some 410 stuff? Maybe go that route for a couple of shows, or what are your thoughts on that? Are you just comfortable where you're at in the 360s at this point?
I mean, they're obviously promoting the 410 races a lot more now than I think when I first started. So we were kind of looking at getting a second motor because, a freshened on a motor, there was quite a few 410s for sale when we first started, but we really were just looking at the 360s. And I haven't really looked at the used market on, motor, or renting a motor or something like that. But I would love to try out, do a 410 show and see what it's all about.
Yeah, that's super cool. And I want to know the story. I'm always interested in this. Your number and letter combination, 2S, what's the story behind that?
When I was little, it was kind of a combination of things. Like a lot of my favorite drivers were number 2. I mean, I was just kind of obsessed with 2 since I was little. Mm-hmm. I was O2. The S was just for my last name, but Shane Scott was one of my favorite drivers at Chico. I remember him in a black number 2 car. Andy Hillenberg's car was always super cool looking. The gold, number 2 on the black car. Rusty Wallace was like one of my favorite NASCAR drivers, and he was number 2.
Sure.
So for some reason, in every sport I played, I always tried to get that same number. So, and then when I raced motorcycles, same thing. I was 2 racing motorcycles, so okay. I just tried to stay with that number, and it seems like every number, even you get out there and there's 388s, and there's a lot of different. It seems like no matter what you pick, there's going to be some different numbers. So I knew that, even when I raced dirt bikes, 2 was common. So I just was 02, and I was almost going to be 02, just to pick a number, but just went with the 2S just because it was simple.
Yeah, that you definitely named some great names there with the Flying Hawaiian Shane Scott and Andy Hillenberg too. I mean, I remember one of my favorite Andy Hillenberg schemes when he had the STP look in the mid '90s, which that really just stood out with the blue, and I think even Richard Petty was helping out as well. And then I think it had a blue and white car maybe in '95 or so that was really cool also.
Yeah, I definitely remember those cars, and my dad being a painter and stuff. I liked the simpler, not so radical looking paint scheme. I liked a lot of the radical looking paint schemes, but some of those really clean old hot rods were, things that I'll never forget, and little die cast cars that I always had.
Sure.
had them up on my shelf. So.
Well, and then Shane Scott is a legend when it comes to racing at Silver Dollar Speedway as well, with championships and signature wins too.
Oh yeah, he was an awesome driver. He was a really cool dude. He actually came to my birthday when I was like, I think 7 years old. He showed up to Ray's video in Chico because my mom had asked him to come by and play a game of pool with me. And he was just always a super cool guy to talk to in the pits after the races, and
sure,
doing the wheelie contest and just his driving style. He always really stood out to me, and he was always my favorite.
That's a wonderful story, because I mean the easiest thing for him would be like, nah, I got I got stuff going on, so right. I got a life. But that's the great thing about our sport and racing, is the accessibility and the big hearts that a lot of people have, whether it's donating to charity, spending time, being a part of like a Make-A-Wish wish, or even just doing simple things like that of responding to an invite and following through with the show up, making someone's birthday special.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. Something I'll never forget. And a lot of the drivers were like that. You'd wait in line to go see them after, and they're getting changed or whatever after the races, but they always made themselves accessible and talked to you. And it was always why it was my favorite sport. Is the people and the drivers, and just the battles on the track and off the track and everything else. It was something I'll never forget.
Well, I didn't tell you about this before we got on the air, but I like to have my guests be sort of the tourist minister of things in the area that they like to do, or places to eat, places to go. For you, I mean, I know some of the hot spots for Chico, but for you, what are some things, if you've never been there before, what are some activities or some places to eat that you would highly recommend?
Okay, yeah. Moving down to Gridley, there's a little place called Pasquini's. It's right off 99, right before you get to Yuba City and you hit the railroad tracks. It's just tucked off, little Italian dining place. And my wife took me there, and I was like, this is better than Fifth Street Steakhouse. And I mean, Fifth Street was my favorite place in Chico before that. But I know it's a little bit out of the ways, but I tell a lot of the guys I work with and stuff, I'm like, hey, if you want to go on a date and take your wife somewhere she'll remember, like, take her there. It's a really cool little place, and they got good food. But if I'm in Chico, I'd say I like Fifth Street.
Okay.
For a good steak. And then they just opened that coin-op place downtown Chico that's pretty fun. Me and my wife did a date night the other night, and my mom came over and watched the kids, and we went to dinner, I think, at Crush, and then we walked over to the coin-op, and it's got the old school skee ball and
that's nice.
The basketball games and big buck hunter, all that stuff.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool to go to.
Yeah, probably the place. I haven't did Fifth Street, so I'll have to do that one of the next times I'm in. But I did. Oh gosh, you're gonna have to correct me on this because I'm probably gonna say it wrong. The Taco Box. Oh
yeah, Taco Box is always good.
Where is that? The place where they got like the insanely melted cheese? Like it's like, whoa, this is crazy. They got like some sort of special deal how they make their sandwiches.
It might be. I've had a lot of stuff from there, like alligator, and they have just cool stuff on the menu and pizzas. There's another place, Nobby's, that's really good. That does that with the cheese. It's like crispy cheese that melts off the burger.
Oh, that's
super
what it
good.
Was. Yes. Yeah, Nobby's.
Yeah, Nobby's is freaking awesome. Yeah, and it's right there by the track over on Park.
Yep. Yes, that's correct. Now, see, I knew that I was going to get my wires crossed. So, but yeah, my first ever In-N-Out burger though was just by Embassy Suites there, just across the 99. I'll never forget that, and it's a place that whether I'm going to Chico or to Marysville or just stopping by in Gridley or something, I usually make that a good stopping place.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good place to go for sure.
Well, it's been awesome to get to know you here, Jayce, and to hear your story as well. As far as, do you guys have a team page right now or somewhere for folks can look at as far as upcoming races for your race team?
Yeah, we actually just put up an Instagram page. We haven't made it over to Facebook or anything yet, but for all of our sponsors and stuff, and all the really good people that are out there taking photos and stuff. My other Instagram, I kind of use it a lot for my business stuff. So I didn't want to spam it with a ton of race photos. So I made Jayce Steinberg Racing on Instagram. And hopefully once we get a schedule together this year, we're going to post it up over there and keep posting our updates from the year. Right now, we just kind of did a photo dump of last year's and the previous year's, some photos from the photographers at the track.
Okay. And then is there an apparel run going on right now where folks can support your race team that way by getting a shirt or a sweatshirt?
You know, we've thought about it, and a couple people have reached out to do some designs, but we don't have anything yet. But hopefully this year we'll get something so we could get some shirts out there and some other stuff.
Okay. And there's no doubt, no matter how much you race, this is not a cheap form of competition, and it requires a lot of money and sponsorships and marketing partners. And I'd just like to give you the floor to thank them, acknowledge them, and to tell all the great people who they are.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, you know, we wouldn't be out here racing if it wasn't for them. Really good sponsors from Oak Ridge Cabinets, Fast Cabinet Doors. We had Jones Flying Service help us out. We had JK Farms, Stainless Aesthetics. That was my company. But yeah, and then we had my dad who helps out on the team, Gerald Jones. He's kind of our crew chief. And then I do most of the wrenching during the week after work and stuff like that. But I think I'm missing somebody there. But yeah, oh yeah, in ORC, Oak Ridge Construction, they also are helping us out a ton as well. So.
Well, like I said earlier, it's great to have heard all this journey, and I'm really looking forward to see how it progresses moving forward. We'll definitely be staying in touch, and I'll definitely have you on again for a little bit of a progress report, hopefully in 2024.
Yeah, for sure. I did forget Tynerhurst Enterprises, and definitely couldn't do it without those guys, Kyle and Steven over there, helped me out and steered me in the right way tremendously. So
didn't want to forget them. They're helping a lot of people out. But well, thank you again for your time, Jayce, and looking forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
This episode is a production of Highside Racing Promotions. Be sure to like the YouTube as well as Facebook page and like these videos. The more likes and the more attention it gets, and we would like to get as much information out to the racing community. Whenever or wherever you're watching these episodes, we hope that you enjoyed them